Well, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Larry Force, and I'm a professor of psychology at Mount St. Mary College, and I'm involved as the co-director of our Center on Aging and Disability Policy. 3 years ago, we were awarded a grant from New York State Developmental Disability Planning Council to work with families on mindfulness-based stress reductions. Families that have individuals that specifically have family members with intellectual disabilities. Obviously, there's no better time to talk about mindfulness than to talk about it right now. And what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to be able to introduce Peggy Pisano and Lisa Nathan. Peggy Pisano comes to this discussion with years as a psychologist, and Lisa Nathan comes to this discussion as a parent advocate and also an individual who has a mindfulness-based daily practice. Our intent is not to flood you with a lot of information. This is not the time to send you manual after manual. Our intent now is just to be able to present ourselves as a resource. And Lisa, Peggy, and I have had a number of discussions, and we thought that there'd be a value add in trying to capture some of the themes that have been exchanged. So with that, what I'd like to do is, and I'll tell you how we arrived here. Peggy, as a school psychologist, represents a component. When we talked about this, we talked about the IEP process. And Lisa, and I have had discussions, and she said, I'm well prepared for an IEP process. But then when I get in there and I see 6 administrators sitting there, what happens is that I become very anxious. And then we started talking about, wouldn't it be wonderful if parents could have access to some type of mindfulness or stress reduction types of modalities. We talked about, in our statewide training, wouldn't it be great if we could get into the IEP process and maybe start every IEP process with a moment of meditation or silence? It would just definitely change the tone. So with that, Lisa, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce you and introduce Peggy. Maybe we could start talking about, some of the things that we talked about before.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh. Hi, my name is Lisa Nathan, and I'm here to help in any way I can.
And can you talk a little bit about how you arrived here?
Sure. Well, I come as a parent of a child with special needs. My son Gabriel is 19 years old, and I diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. Hold on, I'm just going to move.
Okay.
All right.
The reality of the daily rhythm of life.
Yes, especially with 5 people in the house. Yes. So, all right, here we go. Sitting here. This should be better.
Perfect.
All right. So, but I'm also here. He's my son, and what I learned from my son, number one, is to take things one day at a time. If I learned anything from him, he was diagnosed when he was 3 years old by a doctor at Einstein Hospital down in the Bronx. But I also come from the position of a caregiver and a very stressed out dementia caregiver. My husband was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's in his 50s, and he died about 1.5 years ago from the disease. But he had to go to a nursing home after 3 years of living with this disease because he became so violent. It was not safe for him to be at home anymore. And after he went to the nursing home, I mean, I was just a wreck, a complete and total wreck. And I was desperate to feel somewhat whole again. And I discovered, just through reading and looking and whatever, just finding something about mindfulness and meditation. And I had no idea what it was really. I had like myths in my head about what meditation was. You have to clear your head, you have to empty it, and which is all very not true. So I started. And I would start by different guided meditations. I found some stuff online, and eventually I settled on an app called Insight Timer, which has tons and tons of great info on it. And eventually I found one app which starts with a minute a day, and just sat for a minute, and then another minute, and another minute. And what you start to realize, and what meditation really provides, is it gives you the ability to see inside your head. It's the ability to be an observer of all the thoughts we have raging inside of us, because humans have over 50,000 thoughts a day, which is totally normal. But what meditation allows you to do is see it from an observation point of view, to be aware of your thoughts. And when I first started doing this, it really didn't make sense to me. And we've had many discussions about this. That's one of the, the conundrums of meditation, is you don't see the benefits until you have a practice. But, and once you start seeing that, once you're aware of that constant flow, the negatives, the would've, should've, could've, if I had only done that, we bounce back and forth between regret of the past and worry and fear of the future. If you think about it, how much do we do that? And we do it a lot, especially in this environment where there's so much really to be worried about and to have fear about. So the idea is to bring yourself to the present moment, the now, the right now.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
when you and I were talking over the course of the last couple of days, it became clear in our conversation the three of us had yesterday, is that, look, the school districts are doing the best that they possibly can. And what they're doing is they're now being present for the children that used to be in classrooms. Now they're being present for those children through online technology. Right. But I think we all agree that kids with special needs may never be able to sit in front of a computer.
Right.
May never. And so the question is, how do you take that material that, and the practice that you have, and the concerns that school districts have? And Peg, this is really, part of your voice here. How do we go about? I mean, look, this is not and we've talked about this, even about this little Zoom video. This is not a polished product. Okay, as we further move on and we get better at this, okay, as we're developing and we've already developed, but as we're delivering our material, online, it'll be more refined. But we just wanted to be able to get out there today and be able to say to parents that are dealing with these issues that they don't have to deal with them alone, that there are resources and tools and support services that they can have access to. At the end of our discussion, we're going to give you contact information about how you can even get in touch with us, because this way, people are, trying to figure out how best to deal with the reality of their day. So Peg, maybe for a moment you can just talk, and really the exchanges between you and Lisa, but the idea of, how this type of program can be a benefit to parents who are dealing, with kids with special needs. We talked yesterday, Peggy, about the work that historically you've done in working with families in their home for children that have, behavioral issues. What do you recommend at this point?
Well, I think it's difficult depending upon the circumstance of each family, but there are some strategies for behavioral and emotional control. And as Lisa said, these are very difficult times for everyone, and the unknown is pretty scary. So I think with respect to children of all ages, you can share with them and tell them as much as they can understand about today's world and today's circumstances. And then there are behavioral strategies to deal with some of the difficult behavioral problems, if you will, that some children with disabilities or just children in general bring to the table. And so some of those I think we can speak with along the way, but just as Lisa said, staying in the moment for whatever this situation is with your family and your children is probably primary. Try not to get involved in what could, would, should be for the future. Take some time to just relax, take a breath, calm down. If you're in an escalating situation with your child because they're having some emotional difficulties, take a step back, take a step out of the room, just try to regroup, and try not to go up that escalating scale, because that only leads to more, difficulties in acting out behaviors. Maybe develop a phrase for your child when and if you can see they're starting to get anxious or upset, and some kind of calming phrase that you can use over and over again that maybe helps them in different circumstances. So there are other different behavioral strategies that probably we could talk about in the future, but just some of those are short and sweet for right now.
And I think, that's a valid point. I had a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about his own personal life. And one of the things he said is that there are certain things in his life that are non-negotiable, that these are the things he's going to do every day. He's a martial artist. He gets up at 4 o'clock. He has a cup of coffee. He does a little meditation, and then he does his martial art practice. Those to him are non-negotiable. And in conversation with Lisa and in conversation with Jeffrey, wouldn't it be unbelievable if we could be, a voice to be able to share with people the value of something that would be non-negotiable? That every morning, for whether it be 3 minutes, you just sit quietly in a meditative state, in a state of silence, in a state of reflection. Because, as Peg said, it's not only children with special needs, but it's children, it's families. This is a new time for all of us. Now, we are going to send you a link to our program, our ProActive Caring program. And on that link, you're going to find resources. And Lisa went through one of the resources, which is a meditation, practice with Alyssa Jill Williams from the Hudson Valley Healing Center. But Lisa, maybe, because we all have copies of it, maybe we could just walk through some of the things that you gleaned from that.
Sure. Let me open my laptop. And I just wanted to say too, like with Peggy, what you were talking about and the behavior issues, I think it's important to focus on what is the most dire need at the time, not to get wrapped up like about schoolwork right now. If behaviors are an issue, then it's okay to deal with that right now. And not to try to do too much at once. So some of the stuff from Alyssa, I think it's really important to remember that every day is different. Sometimes every moment is different. And that's also something that mindfulness teaches us. And that's okay, because things always change. Even this situation we're all in now, the world is in now, will change. Everything changes. That's a constant. Like I say about my son, Gabriel, his greatest consistency is his inconsistency, because you never know. To let go of things that are not important. You got to, like Peggy, you said, you got to choose your battles. Let go of the small stuff. One good thing, and something that we can talk about too, is the importance of the breath and breathing. And actually, the people have their nervous system is divided into two types: the fight or flight nervous system. That's like stress when you're crossing the street, you're about to cross the street, and like a car comes zipping by around the corner, like you get really scared. That's your body, the adrenaline pumping through your body and the stress hormones pumping through your body. Or you have the rest and digest mode, where your body is more rested. And by taking deep breaths and actually making the exhale longer than the inhale, you can change your body from the stress response into the rest and digest response. So I think that's like something really, really important that anybody can do anywhere. Even unlike, Larry, you said in the morning, trying even for 3 minutes. If that means going in the bathroom and closing the door and sitting on the toilet seat to take your breaths, like that's okay. If that's the only place you can find, it's just wherever and whatever works for you. It's not about being in the lotus position in some perfect location with the sun shining and, the birds singing. That does not matter. It's wherever and whatever works for you.
And I have to say this, building upon that. I mean, I don't know where I was introduced to this. I don't remember reading it, but look, we all have sleepless nights. And I swear this, what I'm going to tell you right now, has worked unbelievably for me. So you wake up in the middle of the night, and now many of us are waking up more in the middle of the night because of the environment, the world of today. So what I'll do is I'll just lie there and I'll look at the ceiling, and I'll breathe in, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, I'm doing it silently. And then I breathe out 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm sitting there, I'm lying there, I'm looking at the ceiling, and I'm breathe in, start focusing on the breath, which is what you referenced before. Just breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, holding it, and then breathing out 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. And I have to tell you, it has never failed me. And with a matter of a few of those repetitions, my eyes close and I go back to sleep.
Yeah. And
I think that, during this time, we have choices here. I mean, it's a crazy world out there, but we don't have to make the inside of the world, our own world, as crazy. And I think one of the things,
very true.
Right, one of the things that we wanted to be able to do, just by introducing the fact that we're here as a resource, is to be able to say there are tools and techniques that you can use. Now, continuing on as you were working down that list, let's go back to that. Because one of the things that you referenced here is the whole importance of self-care.
Yes, and I learned that by being a caregiver, and everybody else could see it around me, but caregivers, and that includes being a parent of, a child with special needs. We are on the bottom of the barrel. I used to say, I'm like the stuff you scrape off your shoes when you come in, we do not take care of ourselves. But if you get to that point, you're in danger. I know when I was so stressed, my body could feel it. My whole body was inflamed. Stress is very, very dangerous to the body. It constricts your blood vessels. Your immune response is less. You sleep worse, which we know affects your health. So all it takes is a few moments. You have to, in other words, you could start somewhere. You could say 5 minutes ago, it could have been like horrible stuff going on in the house. It could have been screaming, the kids could be throwing something or breaking something, but it passes eventually. And you could just start now. You can always start with the breath you have right now. You can always start anew, even if it just means one breath that, can bring you back. And I mentioned that there, the breathing in for 5 seconds, taking a pause, and then breathing out a little bit longer. The other thing, and you mentioned this in sleep, Larry, because I could not sleep. I'd wake up, I'd start looking at my phone, I would watch videos in the middle of the night. I was like, I could not sleep. And I learned, and there's lots of resources about this which we can link to, our body scans. Lying there doing the body scan, doing the relaxation body scan. And then I had favorite guided meditations I would start with, and I would never hear the end of them because I'd always fall asleep before the end. So, and
those are the types of things that we can provide you through distributing links and things like that.
Right.
And the main theme is that you don't have to do this alone. As difficult as it is right now for all of us, okay, you don't have to do this alone. Now, one of the discussions we had yesterday is the discussion about, engaging with the school district and things like that. And how do you go about doing that underneath these conditions? And Peggy forwarded to both Lisa and I today something that was put out by Duchess Bosse's. And we're going to send that out as a link too. Does anybody have that up there right now? Like the brochure, some of the themes that they were talking about?
Well, I have it on my laptop, yeah.
Do you want to just go over some of the themes?
Oh, sure. Talking. Do you have it up, Peggy? Do you want to do this or?
No, I don't have it up, but
okay.
I can.
All right. Realizing you're not a superhero who can bust it and save the world. But you are what your child needs. And be sure to reference a calm frame of mind before you talk to your child. That's kind of a big one, and kids can sense that. So telling the kids you love them. I mean, kids know, they sense the tension going on everywhere right now. And a little bit of reassurance goes a really, really long way. And don't sugarcoat, be factual. Just listen to your children's questions and then answer as honestly as you can. It's okay to say you don't know. Be available for your children when they have questions. And if they have to ask the questions over and over again, sometimes, kids can get annoying, especially our population of kids. They may ask the same question over and over. And you know what? You just got to take a deep breath, calm yourself, and just answer the question as many times as they need to hear it. You just got to, and if you calm yourself, then it's easier to deal with that kind of stress. Expect the unexpected. Well, if anybody who's a special needs parent can say that, they can expect the unexpected. So, we know that better than anybody. Give them control. Let them know what they can do. Wash hands, maybe make it a game, sing a song when you're washing your hands. Do something to make it, I don't want to say fun, but just to, or make it more about the way it feels. We can all do that, how it feels to wash your hands, and running the water and dripping water droplets from your fingers, anything. And some actions you can take, if you can't expect your child in this environment to sit there online and do their work in big chunks of time. This is so new. Just let them do whatever they're capable of and build on that. It's okay if it's 5 minutes for now, and build on it. I have to work with my son. He's not able to do this, navigate this by himself necessarily. I've got to sit with him and help him through this. And meanwhile, research online and, get dinner ready and go out and get stuff. So it's, I'm in the same boat. Make memories. I'm looking to do this. I'm taking pictures of this so we can kind of remember all this, the craziness that was going on. FaceTime and Skype. This is a great time to use all this technology with family. It's kind of fun. You can do that. Set up Skype and FaceTime calls. Exercise together. My kids are cleaning out the garage right now. It's a great little exercise place. And I understand the Y is doing free exercise videos. There's a lot to access, and that's resources we can give as well. Because I understand some places are doing this for free.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're talking, it reminded me, a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago sent me this article, and it was called The Ring Theory. And what it is that whatever the person's dealing with, whether it be the things that we're dealing with today, the specific needs of our children, or whether it be financial issues or psychological, emotional health issues, he said in this theory, what they do is they recommend that you draw a circle around that person.
Oh, yeah.
And then you draw an outer circle. So there's the person surrounded by this circle that's dealing with an issue. And then you draw an outer circle, and that outer circle is family. And then you draw an outer circle, and that outer circle is, your neighbors and your support systems. And you keep drawing these outer circles. But the only thing that you put into the inner circle is comfort and hope. And if you have a concern, the realities of what you really want to say, you say those to the outer circles. And the only thing that you put into the inner circle is comfort and hope. And if you have concerns or you're agitated or you have complaints, then you complain to the outer circle. Now, look, there's a reality. That's a wonderful paradigm. But it does plant a seed that we're all going through this. We're all experiencing this in different ways. And Peg, one of the things I want to talk about is that, we talk about, what the parents are going through. But from your perspective, what are the administrators going through now as they're trying to link these services and be present? And maybe you could talk about strategies of how parents could reach out to those individuals if necessary, the people in the IEP process or whatever, in that world. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, I'm not sure which, every school district is trying to learn this on their own. I don't know if there's a big directive from, say, state ed. We've never been in these circumstances before. So I think if there are difficulties with your child and either the academics or the behavior, I would say start with the teacher and access your teacher. I think most districts at this point are having teacher access online. Some teachers are teaching through Zoom their whole class. Some are just emailing when students are older and can do that. So I think starting there, but certainly if, reaching out to the administrators of your building is probably a good avenue to travel. If you really have some procedural questions or things that aren't going well, then reaching out to the principal or the pupil personnel director when it's respective of an IEP problem. But I think each district is doing the best that they can, and I think they're trying to formulate some plans right now. So I would say in the hierarchy of things, you reach out to the teacher. If you're having a behavior problem, I know that some schools are accessing their counseling staff, their guidance counselors, their school social workers, and their school psychologists, either by phone or online when there's difficulty with behavior or emotions for students. I know there are retirees who have given out their number so that they can be accessible to different students who they might know or they might not know, or just families in general who are struggling. So, I think your teacher is your first person to contact when there's an issue, but certainly most districts, I think, have their administrative staff either right there in the building or accessible via phone or email. So, I think.
And I don't think it has to be, and your points are well taken, but I saw this thing on a news clip where there was a school district, and I don't know what state it was in, but the school district, the teachers got together, and in a caravan, they were driving through the neighborhoods of where the kids lived, just waving to them and giving support. And I think that we when we think about Zoom in the school district, we're always thinking about instruction. But it might not be a bad idea just to reach out to a teacher to be able to say hello to the teacher and hello, and have that teacher say hello to your child, to let them know that they're rooting for them.
Well, I know that some districts are doing things, for example, the art people or the choral people, and then they're sending it out to everybody in the district. They had some students singing songs, and then they sent it to all the faculty. So, I think everybody's doing probably the best they can, and doing positive things and funny things you'll get through your email, and also, there to support some of the difficulties that people are experiencing.
All right, so I think at this point, what we were hoping to accomplish, I think we were able to do. And what we were hoping to accomplish is to be able to let people know that we're a resource here. And the fact is that you'll hear from us and see from us, and we're going to be sending out links, and we're going to be doing these types of Zoom casts, with a variety of people. This ProActive Caring program, which is funded by the New York State Developmental Disability Planning Council, is all about reaching out to parents and caregivers and be able to provide a resource of tools regarding mindfulness. And obviously in this changing world, obviously our delivery is changing as well. And we want people to know that they don't have to do this alone. So at this point, what I'd like to do is I've just, Lisa and Peggy, and I'll do it myself, could you just give people contact information if they wanted to reach out to you individually? And
Sure.
Lisa, you want to do that?
Sure. Cell is, my cell phone is 845-636-3293, and texts are great. Text or call. It's easier just to text me
And
first,
could you just
probably.
repeat that again?
Sure. 845-636-3293. I'm on Facebook. You could find me if you want to private message me. And email.
What's the Facebook page? Is it just your name?
Yeah, Lisa Nathan. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can private message me there. Also, email is lisanathan59@gmail.com. If you're interested in any particular links, or if you want more information about some of the guided meditations that I'm familiar with, I'd be glad to send it out, because I used it and it works. So I'd be glad to share.
Wonderful. And Peg?
Okay, so my cell number is 914-475-7654. So again, you could text or call, that's fine.
And could you just
And
repeat? Could you just repeat that number again?
you're 914-475-7654. And then my email is, last name is Pisano, P-I-S-A-N-O-P, @live.com.
Wonderful. All right, and my contact number, my cell number is 914-475-7629. Again, it's 914-475-7629. And my email is force, my last name, F-O-R-C-E, @msmc.edu. Again, force, F-O-R-C-E, @msmc.edu. Look, I want to thank both of you. I really know that, we didn't have weeks to, gear up for this, but this was wonderful. All right. So I really want to thank both of you for being involved. And at this point, I am going to stop the recording, and just give me a minute to do that. Hold on. I'm getting good at this. Hold on. Stop recording. There you go. Do you want to stop? Yes, I want to stop the recording. All right. Thank you, everyone.